Welcome to the fourth in our Holy Week series. For Maundy Thursday, we're thinking about the time when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemani, and he asked his disciples to stay and watch and pray. And so, in our usual Maundy Thursday service, we end in silence, and some people will stay in the church, in the darkness, with just a few candles lit, in order to be like the disciples, watching and praying. We can't be in the church this year, but people might like to try this exercise at home, watching and praying, being still. Jesus took his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemani. He asked them to pray with him, and he went aside to a quiet place on his own. When he returned, he found that they were sleeping. He said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Could you not stay awake 1 hour? Can you watch and pray for 1 hour? The pattern for today's session is not a meditation, but I'm going to give you some ideas about how you can pray for an hour. Most people find it difficult to pray for just a quarter of an hour. So these are some hints, some pointers that might help. The first thing is to be prepared. You need to gather the things around you that you will need. You may want to light a candle. You may have a picture or a crucifix or an icon which you want to place before you. You'll need a Bible, or you may have a prayer book which has the Psalms printed in it. Perhaps you're going to want music in the background. You need to find a place where you can be alone. Maybe if you've got a hymn book, you could keep that by your side for reference. In order to pray for 1 hour, it's worth trying to divide the time into quarters. Create a pattern, and this is the pattern that I try to use, so I hope it'd be helpful. Begin with a Bible reading, maybe a psalm. Psalm 22 is quite a good place to start. Just take a few verses and read them over and over again. Once you've read a few verses, then stop and have a time of silent contemplation. You might find that your mind wanders, but just bring it back and continue in the same vein. Once your silent contemplation has ended, then pray for people, places in the world and situations in the news. There's no shortage of things to pray for nowadays. Don't just pray for others, but pray for yourself. Jesus wanted Peter to pray in order that he would be saved from the time of trial. Pray for yourself, for what you need. Pray for all the resilience and the strength and the courage. There'll be many other things that come to your mind. If you have a hymn book, then you might want to read a hymn Something like when I survey the wondrous cross. You might want to just sit and look at the crucifix, or your picture, or a lit candle. And then you can do a silent reflection. Think about the reason why you want to be here and you want to be praying. What is it you want? Speak to Jesus. Speak to Jesus about his sharing with you the pain and the grief that sometimes are so apparent in this life. Share with Jesus his pain and his grief, and end with the Lord's Prayer. In your quarter of an hour, you don't want to fill it. You need to give it space. Prayer is about speaking to God, but also listening. It's useful to have a watch with you so that you can just refer to it from time to time and see how this pattern is panning out. And then you repeat the pattern for the second quarter of an hour. The Bible reading, just a few verses, the silent contemplation, the praying for the people of the world and the places and the situations. Reciting a poem or a hymn. Maybe you've got a prayer card which you can use. The silent reflection. Why am I here praying? What is it that I need? And ending with the Lord's Prayer. I find this way of praying, dividing the hour into quarters, quite helpful. Each aspect of it gives me a focus. I hope you find it useful too. Can you stay and pray with Jesus for 1 hour?